aren't we?
What a shit.
Monday morning's commitments. Yeah. We might change the day, eh?
I know. And so, I do martial arts. I've only just been doing, I'm not good at it. I've only been doing it. And so I went to this sparring seminar thing and got the shit beaten out of me for 2.5 hours on Saturday. And I still haven't recovered from that. I'm old. I'm old and out of shape. So,
yeah, we're both hurting. I've been moving furniture all weekend.
And of course, I had kids all weekend. So.
Oh, yeah. Did they help you?
No, not at all. I tried. I've tried to incentivize doing yard work, and I give them money to mow the lawn and all that sort of shit. And they do it for a bit, and then they like, oh, I'm sick of it now. And then
Can I have my money?
They come up with a handout. I'm like, you're fucking kidding yourself. Absolutely not. Go away. Either finish the job or you get nothing. So, you've wasted.
We could talk. Whatever. Welcome to the Kids Today podcast, which we could do for much, much longer. I know, but it is related. Crypto and the Kids Today.
But wanting going into their memory, into their memory right there. So that's going into their memory now, and they'll go back. They'll be talking to their therapist in like 10 years' time and going.
My dad made me do work.
I was fat. And then he said I was lazy, and then he threatened to kick me out of the house, like all of this shit. How normalizing it all. It's
well, this is why, like, when I trained, because I'm training to be a psychologist. Oh, sorry. When you're a psychologist and a parent,
yeah. Oh, we've got the fucking lag. Sorry. Yes. Carry on with the psychologist and parent.
Oh, no, I was saying you can't. I could never treat like rich kids but like one of the reasons why I never practiced psychology is because I didn't want to like deal with rich people's problems. I have zero patience for whinging. Like that as a parent, I'm just someone who's I'm not good at that stuff. I'm not good at I was raised by someone who grew up in the Depression, who was like harden the fuck up. She came out of retirement to raise me, because my dad was, And so I've got that, which is it's just a mere flesh wound, and get on with it, right? And so seeing these kids, as much as Gen Z, I'm happy. I have a lot of hope for Gen Z, right? If they get over the trauma of being locked up in their houses for a year. But, I have a lot of hope, but God bless them. They have no fucking idea about anything, about how money works. But that's the thing, it links to crypto, which is money as an abstract. Like money is more and more abstract. Like when we were kids, we had a physical, thing about our effort or whatever, right? A physical token of our effort. But one thing that I find is really difficult to do with my kids is to teach them about money and how their effort extends to this imaginary PlayStation like store in the sky, right? They don't get it. And crypto is probably another aspect of that.
Well, that's right. And Bobby said, Dad, can you buy me a Bitcoin for my birthday?
Sure. 50 grand. Oh, 40 grand. Oh, 30 grand.
Well, that's right. The way things
When's his birthday?
October. It might be affordable.
There you
go. But Jesus Christ, it's so different though, isn't it? Like when I was a kid, when someone's dad came home, everyone had shut up and you'd just be absolutely shit. If the dad was in a bad mood, everyone would just fucking scarper and go. Now, if dad comes home, everybody, like nobody pays any attention. And
in his case,
go and do something, they'll be like, fuck off, old man, we don't care. It's just, it's so different. It's so fucking weird the way kids, the way the dynamic between then and now.
Oh, well, and I know this is like, we're talking. This is a podcast. Things happen. But one thing for me with my kids is that the way that they talk back to me, it's just astonishing. I would have been beaten to a pulp if I'd spoken to my parents the way and I'm not advocating for that. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's one thing is I always the part of the problem with raising kids to not respect authority is that they don't respect any authority. I was like, oh, well, question everything, question your teachers, question these things. But that also includes me, and that's the problem is that sometimes you go, oh, well, fair cop, they're not rude kids, they're not disrespectful, but, it's just like sometimes you want that authoritarian thing to come out and you go, because I said so. And they go, that's not good enough. Fuckers.
It's like that Eddie Murphy scene from, what was it, Raw, where he's like, white kids can swear at their parents.
Yeah.
And then he's like, if I came over to my dad, he'd be like, whereas whereas
his
now,
mum with the shoe up the stairs. Remember that?
Yeah, right.
Flinging the shoe. Yeah.
And the oldest one the other day, like the best he could come out with when he just wanted to like insult me. He's gone, shut up, you big bitch. And I'm like,
he's doing all right then. My kid calls me a cunt. So, I should say that's because I let him. That's because I let them verbally express themselves. I say, make it clever. It's fine. Better here than out in public. So, in a nice way, not in a.
Well, and my kids go to state school as well, like I do. So sure, it won't be long before cunt just means guy. Look at that.
Yeah, we're Australian, cunt.
I don't know who that guy is. He could be. He's a cunt. Who's that?
Yeah,
give it to that.
This is my cunt. He's my cunt. He's a cunt.
Yeah,
and this is the thing about Americans. Right? This is the thing about Americans is that they don't understand this. And I've said that if I ever get banned from Twitter, I'm going to sue them for human rights violations because in their terms of service says that you can't discriminate based on nation of origin. So if I get banned for the word cunt, they're discriminating against me because I'm Australian.
That's right.
That's going to be
right? We don't have big, long, scraggly beards that stink like a homeless person. All right, you have that. Obviously. Jack Dorsey, you fucking weird-looking prick.
Exactly.
But sue me. Is he going to honestly? They fucking they will just ban you for anything these days if you're from the wrong. If you're not like one of the woke mob, but if you're part of the lynch mob, it's fine. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Oh yeah, I've been going through that for the last week.
I can't do it. I can't.
Some psychopath. Yeah, but some psychopath can just sit there goading feminists and bullying them and lecturing them on feminism and all this shit. And it's like, hang on a minute. Like, and I actually replied and I said, you know what? Scientific consensus and all of politics and all of this stuff doesn't get negated just because Twitter thinks it's profitable for you to lecture us on feminism.
But you do fucking walk a pretty fine line. Well, you don't even walk a fine line.
I don't give a fuck. No.
You smash straight through it.
I fight the exact right battle. The exact right battle, which is that if I get banned, that's a sign of a really big problem because I've said nothing that's not honest or my opinion.
Exactly.
I don't target anybody. I don't use the reply function. I don't use slurs. The only thing I do is do what I've always done and say what I've always said. If I go, then that's a sign of a really you get what I'm saying? Like it's quite deliberate. So
but that's in this age of scientism, that's what gets you banned, right? You can say things that are actual facts. But it's not part of the, the narrative. It's not part of the way that science is supposed to be manipulated these days. Or no, it's not even so that fucking the way that facts are just being completely walked over. If you're not kowtowing to that bull, if you say something that's absolutely true, 100% verifiable, you can still get banned. And it's happening every single fucking day.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Who the fuck are you, Frog Lives Matter?
Yeah. This is Sam Ikens. Sam Ikens, a journalist. On Mondays, we do a crypto podcast, apparently, called News to the Moon. We're talking about crypto. And this episode is called Sell the Dips, because that's one of my favourite lines. But we will, yes. Anyway, we can talk about Twitter another time. But I think...
Yeah, let's get into crypto.
I believe Twitter bans mostly based on conduct and behaviour, and there's ways around that. And a lot of it is algorithmic. I don't think it's ideological per se. It just happens to fall down on one side more than the other. So anyway, we can talk about that another time. So crypto, bloodbath, massacre. What are the words we're going to use for this? You go, Sam. What happened?
Well, I don't know.
Apparently people lost a bit of money.
It looks like, a lot of it was led by China, and anybody who thinks that China is not out to dominate the world and absolutely does not come in peace in any way, shape, or form is a fucking idiot. But the Chinese, it's the Chinese.
Well, the United States are the same.
Not the Chinese people, of course, lovely people. I'm sure they're just.
I would dispute that, but go ahead.
But so we've got all right.
I'm an idiot.
But so they banned the sale. They banned crypto, like trading crypto, and so then we saw a bit of a dip, and then China banned mining crypto, and then we've seen another bit of a dip. But if you look at it, I mean, in the big scheme, if you zoom out on your charts, we're back to where we were about 2 months ago, and I feel like it's probably not the bloodbath that a lot of people are thinking it is.
It's a bloodbath for those that entered in the last month or two.
Are you hodling still? You still hodling?
Yeah, I had to cash some stuff out to pay some bills, but because we've been having to buy furniture and all that sort of practical things, and it turns out that a dog coin is quite useful for, buying some bookshelves and shit like that. But so I sold the dip, but it's cool. There's also other hypotheses around this. I think it's actually multiple factors. Because if you're following the GameStop saga, you'll see that there's a theory running out there that hedge funds are pumping and dumping crypto to raise money to cover their short positions. Also, there's a lot of hedge fund movement with the economy. People, they're buying up. You may have noticed all the houses are disappearing. Apparently, the banks and hedge funds are buying up all the property. It's not just China. You fall in for bullshit. It's partially China, but they overemphasize China's role. China's an easy scapegoat because everyone just buys the United States media's bullshit. But it is actually hedge funds. The banks, apparently bunch of the hedge funds have been shorting the US bonds and treasury bonds for some time. So it's a bit of we're heading for basically some sort of weird, they like to call it a correction of the market. I think it's more than a correction. I think we're heading for a depression. I think that there's a lot of move away from things like crypto and shares into things that are more like metals, heavy metals, property, and other stuff like that can help these guys and banks weather the storm. And that's happening worldwide. Now, crypto, yes, China has done that, yes. But there's also other stuff with the United States and other governments trying to ban crypto as well. So that's that space race that I was talking about. I talked about that in episode 1, where everyone's trying to own it and control it because this is that way. The way to dominate the world is to dominate crypto right now. And it's just blockchain technology. You can't dominate. That's like saying, I'm going to own the internet. It's the same thing, different day, which is that China's going to create their own currency, their own firewall that's not Bitcoin. You know what I mean? They're going to do all their own shit that's all China coin, and they're going to firewall it away from America, and we're all going to, and America's going to do theirs, and then America's going to dominate everyone else. And then all of a sudden, we're going to wish we were under the firewall too for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I do. Petition to join China's firewall, please.
Okay. So tell me about the non-China stuff. You mentioned it a little bit there. So remember in the first episode, we talked about that douchebag who runs a cryptocurrency kind of hedge fund thing who was saying he was shorting Doge. Well, how's that going now, dickhead? Because everybody, everything. So how's your Bitcoin going? But what the fuck? So is there a lot of what sort of whale action, I guess, have we seen in the last little while? Is this manipulation that you can see from anywhere else?
Well, you can't make the market crash like that without whale action. You cannot. The way that it is concentrated, Bitcoin particularly, is very heavily concentrated, right? It's not. That was one of Elon Musk's criticism of Bitcoin, was that they say it's decentralized, but it's not. Only a handful of people, mining companies, actually own a vast majority of the Bitcoin. Those sorts of things. It's not as decentralized as you'd think. And Doge is not as decentralized because, well, allegedly Robinhood or a number of exchanges actually own most of the coin. And a lot of those exchanges are backed by major hedge funds in the US or, those sorts of things. So it's more complicated than that, which is that you can't, in the context of what's happening in the stock market, which is that you've got a whole bunch of stuff coming out. Again, can we just say that the GameStop thing's gone a bit batshit too? I don't know if you're still following, but it's kind of gone a little bit culty. And if you say that you're going to get any less than 20 million a share, you're a shill. There's all these people that are just going a bit off the fucking deep end. Yeah. It's just you can't even say be realistic now without them saying that So it's getting a bit crazy, but that's just the way internet works, right? Is that there's always going to be culty
through
shit.
the GameStop thing. So I haven't followed for ages.
Yeah.
What's the end game now?
So they're still just holding.
What's the state of play?
So basically, it's always been buy and hold, right? Buy and hold until they cover the short. So when the squeeze happened in March, was it March? Fucking, I don't know what day it is anymore. Welcome to 2033. I have no fucking idea. But back in March when the first squeeze hit, there was this big media campaign saying the squeeze is squoze, it's all over. The hedge funds covered their short position, definitely covered them. It's all fine, guys. Okay. And everyone in the community went, bullshit. We own the shares. We own, the numbers don't add up. And also they don't have, like, the reporting of short positions, as I understand it, is voluntary. So like you just got to, it's like, well, they could just say they covered the shares. So basically what we've been waiting for is there's been a number of different catalysts in the lead up to the AGM in June, which is when you will actually know the position of most people, right? When there's an actual vote. So we're going to see that. So the hypothesis is that they didn't cover their shares. They're full of shit. As somebody who observes, shilling and fudding and disinformation a lot on communities, I would say that that they're spending an awful lot on disinformation. I know what things cost, and I'm saying that they're spending an awful lot on attacking a community where they're in the right. If that makes sense. I only see these kinds of attacks happen in areas where you're trying to change people's minds when you're not in the right. I'm not going to talk about the specific campaign that I talk about, but the astroturfing campaign that you and I both know that I'm obsessed with, because it's just not fair and it's wrong and it's bullying and all of that stuff. Anything that gets you to deny your senses or deny the truth or all those sorts of things usually requires a double down or double aggressive effort. And it requires money, expense, agencies, troll farms, media articles, PR campaign. There's a campaign underneath this that is trying to disprove the hypothesis of these guys quite aggressively. Okay, that's evidence for me.
What's the hypothesis?
I don't know why.
Okay.
So the hypothesis is that they haven't covered their short position, that they've actually started naked shorting, which is where they don't just borrow shares, but they actually just say they've got shares and say, like say someone gives you an IOU and you go, oh yeah, that person's good for it. And then you go and you say that person's good for it. And that you make you generate 5 versions of that one share. So there's more shares bought than out in the market. Now they reckon that they've doubled down on this. The hypothesis is that because they've basically been borrowing 1 million shares a day. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
When people know we've got okay, let's be conservative. 200,000 people still left, okay? 200,000 or 300,000 people still left, each holding a few hundred shares each, because over the course of months they've been buying up, shares. The numbers don't add up, okay? If you're just based on the maths, okay? That's the hypothesis. Again, there's a leap there, which is whether you think hedge funds tell the truth or whether you think hedge funds lie, okay? But then it's
the whole,
exactly.
Isn't that the whole thing? Like we're trying to they're using the art of war to be deceptive, and they're trying to fuck you over wherever you are.
Absolutely. And what I'm seeing is a lot of
investor. They want to fuck you over.
And they bully investors.
Because
and that's what they've actually shown.
It's like a robber. It's like a somebody robbing a cafe and then taking the money out of all of the wallets of the people there. Like just one person's wallet isn't going to get you much, but if you take everybody's wallet,
and then if you try to go to the cops bullying you,
but then if you're under Samuel L. Jackson, then you're fucked. But then that's essentially what they're trying to do. It's legal. They're not really doing anything wrong, but
no, because naked shorting is illegal. No, that's the thing. Morally, they're doing they're actually doing illegal activity. So what do you do when the internet has 3 months to kill? The internet starts digging on things. Okay, so what happened was they started digging, they started looking at things. Obviously there's different layers of knowledge. Some people are saying, there's a bunch of crazy dumb people in those things. That's just part of it. But there's at the core of the hypothesis. Sorry?
They call themselves retards. They call themselves retards.
But there's also one thing I do know, because I've connected with a number of them on LinkedIn, is that a lot of them work at tech companies, a lot of them are data scientists, a lot of them accountants, like some serious people who are just pretending to be like, edgelord 73, right? So so there's a lot of smart people, right? And so basically what they've started to do is build a case, a massive thing, where they're just building up what they call DD. This is related to crypto because basically they're exposing everything that they're doing in the market. So they've been doing AMAs with people who've talked about naked shorting in the past, whistleblowers. They're talking to industry experts. They're doing live streams. They're building cases. They're using everyone's collective minds. So my FUD brain. So I've sat there and I've gone, okay, I'm observing this. I'll write about it later. It's more something that I like to. I'm more like the SEC. I want to build my case and see what happens before I contribute anything, so I don't look nuts. But basically, based on what I've seen with previous intimidated, like big tobacco bullying of science, bullying of people, and that's a template that is easily spotted once you've spotted it a few times. That's happening to this community, for whom I don't know, but one would believe that someone is spending a fuck ton of money on making sure that a bunch of people buy and hold, and sell their shares, right? Right. So, and that's the thing. And for me, it's like, well, that's not just GameStop, because it's happening to AMC as well. So AMC have done the same thing. And basically what it's done is exposed that it's basically naked shorting is illegal. Synthetic shorts are illegal. And they've also, the fact that they were shorting treasury bonds and a number of other things have really exposed how poison. I don't think that I would ever buy New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ shares ever again based on this. It's basically like the corruption and the conflict of interest. The fact that Citadel can short a company and be a market maker is a conflict of interest.
Laid it all bare, and we can see it. And you've got little people who have seen an option to jump in there and actually make some money and try and get back. Now, so the question that I have here, the fuckwits from these hedge funds, and let's not be fucking beating around the bush. These people are fuckwits. They're absolute pricks. But they were shorting at $6 or something, were they? They were shorting.
Yeah. So the longer it stays at 170
and so
bucks,
now
they're fucked.
What is it, 176?
It's 178.
So and so until they can get everybody who's holding, all of the little people who are obviously popping that price up, because if you all the people who want to help.
So it's been trading sideways. So what I've been watching, I've been looking at the order book, and what they basically do is this is where there is a possibility that they've actually technically covered their short position. But what they've been doing is trading shares back and forth between a number of shell companies so they're basically what they're doing is selling it back and forth to keep the price there. Stable. Now, we don't know why, because in that time, the DTCC and a number of other bodies have been passing legislation and policy left hand and overhand and foot to make sure to make it so that they can do margin calls, so that they must cover short position. All of these regulations. And it's almost like they've been trading it sideways to again, and this is where things can turn a bit. You've got to be careful about making everything link back to GameStop and sounding Pepe Sylvia doesn't exist fucking shit, right? Because it ends up getting a bit crazy. But at the same time, it's hard not to see the sideways. Like you'll see it go from like 150 to 160 to 150, 171, up and down. You'll see Motley Fool and a bunch of other financial things going, GameStop's fucked, it's never going to do anything. A bunch of just negative, even though it's gone up $13 in a day, you'll just see it. You'll go, that's just not what literally it says up 13%. On the article that they're talking about. Thank heavens for shock mounts. And then the hypothesis is basically that this is shorted somewhere between 500 to 3,000% of the float. There's only 70 million shares total in the whole of a GameStop's float. And this is a worldwide thing, right? This is the thing where it's not like it's like Twitter where it's like 300 or 400 million shares or whatever. This is only 70 million shares total in the float at all. And the institutions own 125% of that. That doesn't even account for retail. So it's basically just this big bluff. Now, how this is linked to crypto is that, first of all, a lot of this stuff shows why because crypto's unregulated. Crypto's unregulated. The hedge funds exploit crypto, pump and dump crypto in order to get liquidity for other things. And also it's completely fucking unregulated. And I've come out the other side going, you know what? Crypto is exactly why we can't have nice things, because this is exactly what happens. Because even when it's regulated, it's corrupt. It's corrupt. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah. I get it. But
but hedge funds are going to go down, is basically the hypothesis in the next couple of months.
And this is what everybody's seeing in crypto. And that's why we've seen since February, everything in crypto has surged, which is why this is not such a big deal that it's crashing at the moment. It's only gone back to where it was 2 months ago. And if you look at the way that things, and I've just been watching a couple of videos of people who actually know what they're talking about, who might suggest that it's going to, that Bitcoin has kind of hit its floor. It's lost 50% of its all-time high, and it will probably start to go up at some point. It'll probably go down a little bit more, but this is not the time to start selling and cashing in your losses. It's also, I love the fact that crypto is seen as the little guys kind of place where we can get back, where we can actually invest and make some money.
But it's not
having the backing of one of these massive. It's not?
No, I don't think so.
How
I think it was.
Right.
Well, I think that, like I said before, about 30% of the Dogecoin is owned by Robinhood in one wallet. The DH5 wallet owns 30%. In Bitcoin, same thing, right? A bunch of whales own this stuff. Hedge funds pump and dump it. They use it to raise. Basically, my hypothesis is that increasingly crypto is used to vacuum money up from everyday people into rich people's wallets so that they can fund their other fuckery. That's the case that, again, I have no, this is one of those things. I have no evidence. I'm not making claims, but it just looks that way. You know, like you go, the optics of this are really bad, which is there's an awful lot of fucking coincidences, which is that it looks to me like, because, you know, Robinhood own and control Doge, right? They're giving out Doge hand over fist and all of it. It's not, how is it a coincidence that Robinhood are now implicated in this GameStop fuckery, but now, and Citadel is one of their major clients, and yet suddenly Citadel need money to cover short positions. It's an awful way. I'm saying it's not a big leap. It's not conspiracy theory, right? It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just like, okay, you get what I'm saying? You go, okay, well, you've it's not a conspiracy theory to point out what you see and hear and follow exactly. And
it's a conspiracy theory though. But I mean, a lot of shit that people want to point out is that that's how you discredit a credible fucking argument that you don't like. You call it conspiracy theory. So of course,
well, MK Ultra was a conspiracy theory once, right?
Yeah, that's right. So it was election fraud. But this fucking the I don't know. Look, it's just I find it a little bit disappointing that crypto has.
We can't have nice things.
There's no way for anybody to kind of get in there and do it. Essentially, you are going to have to go through a financial advisor who's going to invest in fucking blue chips for you that'll go up at like 3% a year, and you might make, you'll have to have $500,000 or $600,000 to earn anything back from it. And that's
almost like capitalism doesn't work.
It's fuck you.
It's almost like capitalism centralizes wealth over time and then ends in fascism. It's almost like Marx. You're going to have to concede that Marx was right at some point. You know that, right?
Fuck you.
Have you read it?
No, of course I haven't read it. I've read people who have written about it on fucking line. That's it. But
exactly.
Okay,
there you go.
I'll read it before we do this next time.
My friend Helen Raiser wrote a wonderful book. You should read her book on Marx.
I like Helen Raiser. I've loved watching Helen trying to lose her blue tick on Twitter too.
Oh, fuck, she's a legend. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Yeah. Right.
You see what happens to real socialists in this world? That's what happens.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
anyway.
I don't know. Look, that's this political ideological
No, but
conversation.
it's all linked. It is all linked, because the thing is that I think that people like to fool themselves into thinking that crypto is some sort of, capitalist paradise.
So why do you care about it?
Because it is also, when you look at the history of money, there's different ways. Again, inserting yourself, right? Marx didn't. Sorry, I'm just going to address Magic's brother's comment. Marx was right in description, not on prescription. He never made prescriptive statements. Anyway, so
nobody's made it work. Nobody's been able.
Well, no, because the American government undermined every attempt and could declare war on them. Anyway, let's move on. Socialism. It's easy. That's like saying, everything that you do is bad. But I'm just going to pull the rug out from you every time you try. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. And then we just keep sharing that myth through our centralized owned media and tell everyone that socialism doesn't work like it's a fact. Anyway, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The manifesto was, that's irrelevant. So I'm not going to get into a debate about the Communist Manifesto. That was a pamphlet, and it was not his work. He's got Capital, which is 3 volumes. People read the first volume only, generally. There's volumes 2 and 3. He's also got a large body of work. The Communist Manifesto was meant to be rhetorical, and it was in context. It doesn't matter.
So why do you give a shit about crypto and about GameStop?
Because crypto decentralizes money. Well, no, because you don't. Because Marx held shares. Marx held shares. He didn't dismiss the stock market. He played the stock market. Here's a Marx quote. I'm paraphrasing. I like the stock market because it implodes the free market. Basically, it undermines the free market. So I'll play the stock market. That was what he said. So he made a pretty penny playing the stock market. He wasn't opposed to capitalism. He said that the end of capitalism is inevitable because of human behavior. He was an economist and a philosopher who talked about psychopaths existing. And that the inevitability of capitalism as a model, Adam Smith's model he was critiquing Adam Smith's invisible hand theory, okay, which was literally meaning the hand from God. He basically meant the hand of God, okay, and it was bullshit. It was based on this imaginary barter system that doesn't exist, that never existed, and it was just taken as true. Adam Smith made up a bunch of his shit, okay. But anyway, crypto is there's different ways to look at it. It's not just about coinage. So the history of money is not just about coinage. I'm quoting David Gruber here. But there's also a different way for money, which is money as an IOU. Money is about community. Money is about trust. It sits there as an IOU and trust. It's the debt theory of money, or it's a different. It's a more relational approach to money than say a transactional approach to money. This is just, you got to read the history of money on this stuff. But I'm just saying that, like, the crypto represents that. And the problem is that Bitcoin itself this is where that split happened, what I talked about last week in the community, where Bitcoin represented a different way of doing money, which was that it was a representation of trust. It was, that, like when you talk about smart contracts and transparency, it was a philosophical thing as much as it was. But then a bunch of fucks, like as usual, turned it into a transaction, turned it into a commodity, turned it into something, and they kind of ruined it. And there's been a split in crypto community over that, and Bitcoin particularly over that. Ethereum is all, it's all that hedgies versus the rest of us all the time. American hedge fund, American corporate interests all the time versus everyone else. That's the history of the world. China is obviously, part of that geopolitical landscape, but it's not. You can't look at any world power without the rogue state being talked about. Anyway, so
you like the idea
the
that
world's biggest bully.
Crypto is supposedly decentralized. However, in practice, that's not what's happening.
Yes.
Okay.
And Dogecoin started out that way, and now that's been fucked too.
And it's not decentralized because a few fuckwits like Robinhood are buying it up, and Robinhood backed by Citadel. Is that right?
Because the greedy fucks that Marx said existed and always existed exist and have just rucked up the system. That's why it's linked. I just wanted to circle back so we're not looking like we're diverging. That's all.
Okay. And so Robinhood Robinhood, who own all the shit, obviously are manipulating the market by stopping trading and selling fucking shares for people and all of that sort of shit under people's noses, and somehow they can fucking get away with that, right? So, which is why people shouldn't use Robinhood. But so this is the centralization. This is the bastardry that's ruining this supposedly.
Yeah. Because greedy people ruin all the good shit.
Okay. And so they've got in and there's no way to get out. Is there a world in which crypto can actually be decentralized, or are there some coins that are actually decentralized that might fit your little utopian world?
Yeah. Well, it's not a utopian world. Capitalism is just as the utopian world of American neoliberalism. Yeah, how is that not utopian when you go, oh, psychopaths don't exist, people aren't greedy, people will do the right thing, invisible hand, the hand of God. How is that not utopian? How is that not fucking utopian?
Fucking don't shoot the messenger.
No, this is for the audience. This is for the audience, not you. I'm saying, how is this not fucking utopian to say that everyone's going to do an equal exchange?
Who's saying that psychopaths don't exist? Surely anyone who's experienced anything.
Well, everyone who says that capitalism, unfettered capitalism, should be the way.
The psychopaths. They're
unfettered capitalism.
They're attracted to particular jobs, and they will fuck anyone over that comes near them. And it doesn't.
Unregulated capitalism attracts psychopaths and incentivizes them.
Some people have
so that wealth centralizes. Sorry?
Right. Some people have been married to them, but everybody's come across a sociopath, somebody who has absolutely no idea how human feelings are supposed to be, and they have to pretend and act as though they give a shit about other people when really all they care about is getting shit for themselves, and that's it.
Yeah. And you look at the crypto pump and dumps. Yeah.
And today, if you want to look for people who are like that, look at news directors, people who have reached, middle to high management in the media industry.
Well, anybody.
Like everywhere. I know, but these are people generally who tend to gravitate towards particular jobs, and then they do well because they're psychopaths, right? And in banking.
But that's a system that incentivizes that behavior. And
politicians, fuck me. There's so many of them. And
but that's a system that incentivizes that behavior. I see that's the way that we see things differently, which is that when you have an individualistic view of people, you tend to I see it as a systemic thing that incentivizes and certain behaviors and certain conduct, and then you see it as Oh no! I'm just saying it's the way you put your focus. Probably different way of saying it. I'm just saying that I see it as you're going to make, because again, from a psychological point of view, it's partially genetic, partially environmental. If you create a system that incentivizes psychopathy, you're going to end up with more psychopaths than you would under one that doesn't. You get what I'm saying? So it's actually, because it is actually largely environment as well. That's why we're seeing this generation of more psychopaths, more, all of these people who would ordinarily be good, kind-hearted people, dogpiling and conducting themselves in ways that, socially give you social currency. It's
true. And that's what it's teaching people to be, isn't it? It is actually,
and crypto is
rewarded for being a psycho. You're being rewarded for for completely disregarding any of your own moral ethics and being the person that you're attacking.
And if anything, the economic landscape actually creates a situation where that's the only way you can survive. Right. So if you think about things like the internet, where people, the only way they can make a buck is to write hit pieces. You get what I'm saying? Or the only way that they can make money is to write the most horseshit attacking stuff, or OnlyFans,
or being a victim.
Yeah, and being a victim, playing the victim, defaming people, writing sensational headlines. That's what I'm saying, is that they might not even be a bad person. They're just forced that way. Right?
Exactly.
That's when I say, and crypto creates that too.
Well, and I've been in the news media for 20 years, and I can't tell enough people to fucking just ignore it. Ignore the news media.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah, because people are just trying to make a buck.
half of the shit that you're reading is just stuff that's emotive. The whole idea behind it is to make people feel something. And this is what I've said, that as a news director running a newsroom, you need to try and make people feel something, right? And it's absolute. It's bullshit. You don't need that. People go to the news because they think they're being educated. They think they're finding out about the world around them, but they're not. They're getting a bunch of opinions and a bunch of bullshit that's being passed off as news that they don't need. You don't need that. It's the stuff that you need to find out. You can find it by doing a quick search on the internet or going to a particular website. Like if people are like, I need to find out about what's going on with coronavirus. So go to your local government website and they'll tell you exactly what the fucking stats are. You don't need the third party putting it through a prism of how bad you are and how there are fascists who don't wear fucking masks and shit. So I can't stress enough. You fucking don't need the media. You don't need it at all. It's a load of shit. Find independent journalists who do long form work and don't smash together little 2-minute news packages that you can't get any content. You can't tell a story in 2 minutes. I'm sorry, you fucking can't. It's just impossible.
But my whole life I felt the pressure.
A whole long form story. So
sorry, and I get people asking me all the time, where's your articles and theses? And it's like, and I go, you know what? I'm literally the only person on the internet who doesn't get paid to write, for a start. And so I do it in my everything of this is my free time. So partially that's another way where crypto fits in for me, which is that you've got to work within the system. I hate the system. I'm more about root cause, which is for me, we have to learn to operate within this system that I reject. Self-employment is the best way to live as a socialist because I own my own labor and I can, give it and trade it as much as I see fit with other people and all of that sort of stuff. I'm a big fan of collective work, like collectives and, that sort of stuff. But so crypto is a way of, anywhere where I can turn my money into more money, like Mark said with the stock market. So I can turn it into more money so I can fund my other work without having to compromise on what I do, because I can't afford to write. I don't get paid to write. I don't get paid to do YouTube. I don't get paid, you know what I mean? Like I've got to make a living, and my industry got evil. So for me, I've gone, okay, see, this is that, we're talking about the psychopathy and how crypto incentivizes the worst behaviors, right? It does. And it attracts really dodgy people. Digital. So digital, user experience, right? Manipulating. Yeah. I spent my whole career has been persuasion and and that's why I'm now going to go into the therapeutic side, because it's the only solution that I see is mental health. Okay. But at the same or political will. The thing is that one thing is that these markets don't just fix themselves; they need political will. So people don't just have to go, oh well, that's how it is, I can't do anything. They can go, no, this is not okay. And that's the thing about GameStop that I was talking when we were, hark back to GameStop, which is that they've been exposing a lot of this stuff, getting a lot of the laws passed, believe it or not. I didn't think they would, but they are. The SEC are building a case against Citadel and those other things. They're doing investigations, and I have a feeling that there's going to be criminal charges at the end of a lot of this stuff. And so what there needs to be is that the thing about ape don't fight ape, that's a Marxist fucking thing, which is there's basically no identity politics are allowed in the community. None of this stuff that divides people. We're focused on exposing this stuff, and we've got political will. We are now a group of people with enough power, and we now actually put our money where our mouth is on this thing, and we have political will. We want change. We want things to be different. These guys shouldn't be allowed to get away with this stuff. That's where, we're doing it. Well, with GameStop.
Okay.
Right? So they're buying up the shares. They get the votes. So at an AGM, the shareholders get to vote. So did you know that in shareholders, that one of the capitalist arguments for massive corporations is that mum and pop shareholders get a vote in the company. Do you know how much effort these hedge funds go to stop people from voting? In AGMs? Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's bullshit. Again, that's another thing you go, well, that's bullshit. Okay. Turns out all of this is bullshit. And so what we need is a new way of doing things, and it's exposed a lot of stuff. And again, there's crazy stuff and memes and stuff, but underneath all the memes and the crazy shit, there's some grain of truth there, which is that the system doesn't work. Ordinary people are basically harvested for their data and money and all that stuff, right? Crypto is now pumping and dumping. A whole bunch of people have lost a fuck ton of money. Right?
Yeah, sorry about that.
And Yeah. And people without, and that's where, I'm saying that the system doesn't work. And when we say crypto, when you say, are there any cryptos and stuff? The answer is, well, yes, I'm optimistic about blockchain technology as I was about the internet in 1999.
Okay. And
unfortunately, we're now at 2004 internet, where the AOL portal is coming and fucking everything up, and Americans online, fucking AOL.com fucks, are coming on and like, loud chewing in everyone's faces, and we've just got to resist it this time. And there's a bunch of technologies that are making it possible for people to be free and own their own labor, like I was talking about, and all those things. But, there's a political fight here as well. But also, this is where it gets complicated. It also needs regulating.
Yeah.
Do you want me to You can get that if you need. You can get that.
No, don't do that. It's okay.
No, okay.
Well, we're going to bounce.
You see what I'm saying?
Anyway.
Yeah. But sorry, so this is what I just want to talk. Sorry, I didn't want to talk too much. I did that again, but
it's fine. Don't worry.
Strongly about these things.
We've already talked, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm a little bit sensitive this morning because of shit. Because I've just handed.
We've got to put on a show too. Yeah.
Anyway,
we've also got to put on a show. So
I know, right? So good. So so you don't think that there's anything in the crypto world that's like GameStop? You think those two things are completely different?
Not anymore. No, I think Doge. Well, Doge is being owned by like corporations.
Yep. Bitcoin obviously is.
Yep.
Well, but so are there any coins that aren't? BitTorrent, but that's that's on Tron as well. So if you're suspicious about sort of the Chinese stuff, then that's all on Tron. So I think that be a bit more open-minded about China. It would be probably one of my advice. But I think they do in any way seems like it's for the good of the world. It's only for the their
benefit
government.
It's almost like they're a communist country and like to look after their people.
But no, it's not. They don't look after.
But they're not
people.
Expansionist.
But they don't. And they. But look at what's going on.
I think you should turn off the news.
I have turned off the news. But there's no question that they're building massive.
I know, but the history of that. No, there's not.
Areas in the South China
Sea. But no country is without that.
Peace,
How
right?
come America's allowed to have hundreds of bases around the world? Okay, no. How come America's allowed to have a nuclear base in my city? And China's not. I'm just saying it's balanced. It's about proportion. Okay.
Because America's
it's more about. Oh, okay, so they're our friends. So it's not about fairness. It's about. See, that's what I'm just saying.
It does come back to fairness.
But that means that we think that we own all of the ideas of the world and that we're correct.
No, I'm not saying that either. I don't know. I don't. I just look. I think that the way that China behaves in every fucking way, it's not. They're not looking after their own people. They're not looking after. They just want more.
How do you know that? Have you?
Because you can see the human rights thing. There's so many fucking problems going on.
You mean the one that's fed by the American military?
Which one's that?
Which also the counterpoint to that is that there's actually American-funded insurgents, which is also something they've done in Venezuela and other countries.
But of course, America isn't. I'm not saying.
I'm just saying if we're looking at behaviour and past behaviour and just trying to.
Yeah. So you
I'm
like
just saying
China
that the record. No, I don't like anyone. I don't like. I'm just saying I'm fact-based, which is that I'm distasteful of propaganda in general. And
but I'm saying,
I had someone call me out of the blue and tried to feed that Uyghur story to me. And they said that it was coming from the American military and that they needed to do something about China. And I didn't fall for it. And then I saw a bunch of other influencers parroting that shit verbatim without looking into it. And what I'm saying is that there's another side to this, which is that the American government have a very, very strong and solid history of imploding anyone they don't like.
America has only jumped on the Uyghur story in the last, quite recently.
I know.
And it's been
why is that?
Years and years. But it's not new, so it existed before them.
I know.
So don't just because.
Yeah, but I'm saying would you declare war on Australia because of how we treat Indigenous people?
Tibet and Nepal and Hong Kong and all that kind of stuff.
Venezuela, Guatemala, Chile.
Okay. All right,
I'm saying to not trust either of them. Okay. I'm not saying to trust one or the other. This is where you feel like you need to pick a side. I'm saying pick neither.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm saying like we wouldn't declare war on Australia because of our disgraceful treatment of our Indigenous people either. No. We wouldn't go, oh, well, you get what I'm saying? We've all got blood. Every country has an ongoing problem. And if America chooses to amplify that and use that to manufacture consent to illegally invade our country, that is a war crime. I'm saying they can't just turn around and anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I know, but America isn't threatening to invade that country, whereas, there are other countries that more like they might.
Good luck. Good luck trying to put any kind of social democracy in this country.
Okay. Cool.
Without there being consequences.
Right. Social democracy in terms of I'm lost on where we're at the moment. Politics about picking the list. I agree with that on Juanis Pola and America and China are not the same. Agreed. Also, I think you've got to look at the levels.
Don't lecture. Can I just say that people shouldn't tell me what politics is about. I literally have a master's in it. Okay, so telling me what politics is about.
But they're allowed to have an opinion about what politics is about.
They can have an opinion all they like, but it's my channel.
And and their worldview comes from their own experiences. Yours comes from, your institutional...
Probably comes from American propaganda.
Probably, but you don't know that. So let's look at these kind of markets, though. And you just said what I'm trying to work out what you mean by social democracy in Australia. Take me through your position on that. What do you mean?
Well, we've gradually since John Howard was Prime Minister. Well, okay, Paul Keating, but John Howard as Prime Minister, the gradual erosion of the welfare state, reduced fees, reallocation of funds towards private schools rather than public schools, erosion of our public health system. Those were once great social democratic ideas that have been gradually eroded by neoliberal politics over a period of 30 to 40 years. So we had what was pretty close to a functioning social democracy, and that was under pressure from the United States to float the currency and various other things, which again just became I don't know whether it's coercion or not, but America's good at making a threat without making a threat. That we had to operate in the world economy and float our currencies and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And that became a condition of trade. And so we're forced to do it.
How is there a way to fix it? How do we get out of that? Is there any hope for mankind?
Good luck.
Or should we just...
The collapse of America.
Should we just dig bunkers and wait for the civilization to implode?
I don't know. The thing is, I don't know these things, but I think that crypto has we have an opportunity to do it correctly, and make sure that it is as decentralized as possible. And the thing is, at the end of the day, if there's lots and lots and lots of different cryptocurrencies, then at the end of the day, I could just create Taya Coin. And I just make sure that has a value and that trades. And this is where, the Hutt River province, I don't know if you know. Sorry?
It's got to have a value, though. So,
if it has value, then it has value.
But we're seeing at the moment
if my services have value, then my coin has value.
Exactly.
If people want my shit, then I've got a coin that they pay me in. That's how the Americans work,
Yeah. So there's Shiba Inu coins that I currently have in my fucking wallet, which are next to worthless now, had no value to start with, and I just jumped on it just because I wanted to see what was happening. How do you give a coin a value? How does it work? How do we how do we find the coins out there that have got the value that we can jump on? Because like you say, Doge is compromised.
Well, it depends on how you...
I'm asking you, what do you assess them by? How do you assess
Well, I assess them via the tech and the potential for the tech, and whether I would be like long term in terms of building on top of their platform. So there's a few good ones where they've got good emerging tech that I would build on top of their ecosystem. So like BitTorrent still, excites me because there's, it's got that combination of sort of brand awareness and the good tech.
That's right. And it was fucking awesome when we could just download movies for nothing.
Yeah. But that's also a stink. So in terms of them, there's a stink because, again, there's American copyright, MRAA and RAA and all those sort of people lobbying against BitTorrent and, all that stuff. So we're always fighting America, like corporate interests and across the board in the world. And that's
but I think
that's the fight.
For me, like I like that. I like that it was something that people could use to get around the the bullshit that people had with you had a couple of companies that owned all of the content that people wanted, and this was a way to get around it. It was a decentralized way for people to share peer to peer, and if that can become a currency, then wonderful, and it has. Still waiting to see it start to tick upwards, but if it does, that'd be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but again, it's like any kind of stock. If you're going to buy it depends on how you're going to look at it. If you're going to look at it as a coin to trade and exchange goods and services, it doesn't matter. You can exchange fucking anything for anything, right? If you're going to just use, I like to take payment in Doge because I like Doge, and eventually BTT if that matures, and various other coins. And but there's lots of, again, it depends. I don't like Ethereum or ADA mostly because it's like funding the same like Bill Gates and the same billionaires that were always fucking part of the other things. And crypto was supposed to be something different, and that's the fight that we've got, and that's why it's gotten political, because it is a political fight. Because at the end of the day, the people that don't believe in copyright, and those sorts of things are China, and that's a communist way. Piracy is a communist way of looking at things. Americans call it piracy. Chinese is just cultural, right? That's the thing, is the cultural difference. So it's just it depends on where you are, where you're at, and where you are philosophically. Whether you like, hurting African children in order to have a better like way of life in the West. And again, that the coin is not. It's about the stocks. It's like the same way that you'd invest in stock or a business. I have a much more. I have the luxury of being able to be much more precise and absolute in my views and my perspective on things. I will not do certain unethical things. I have the right to do so, and that's okay. I withdraw myself from aspects of society because I refuse to participate. Right? A lot of people don't have that right. So luxury. So, I'm saying it depends on people. It depends. If you need to make some quick money, then go for the quick money, but just know where it comes from. If you want to flip diamonds, blood diamonds, then you know what I mean? I'm saying you got to know where it depends. That's why when you say, I think maybe we're talking across each other, because I'm very much more about, the coin is just the end game, and politics is not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of fucking evidence and fact and theory, and people not saying bullshit about what politics is. Americans just think they invented the fucking thing, and they did not. And it's just like I have to come across looking more anti-American than I am, because if I have to push back so hard against this American exceptional bullshit and default bullshit all the time. And it's the same thing with money, which is that money, the foundation of money is, read David Grieber's book, Debt, the first 5,000 years. This is built on one theory of money, the way that people think about capitalism and money. It's one theory, and it was largely fucking false, okay? People are relational. People are more relationship-based. We love each other more. We do favors. That hasn't been built into capitalism. By default, neoliberalism assumes that we are equal in power and status and interests and wants and transactions, and it says, that there's no relationship, that, all these things. That's what money's for. It doesn't exist. There's a whole other area to it, which is that IOU and trust and, pay me later, pay me next month, pay me when you can, sort me out with some fruit if you want. Like that. That doesn't really allow for that kind of, and that's where I think the clash is with money and theory and socialism versus capitalism. And people not knowing what either of them mean. And, you know, they're not that different. They're not that different from each other.
At the moment, it's all fucking scrambled, right?
Yeah, it is. And that is partially because of all of the news that you talk about.
Now, and so I think you indicated that we were like crossing each other, or like I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying. I'm just trying to work out where you're coming from.
I mean, because cross conversation. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it's true. We were kind of talking about different things at the same time, and I apologize. But I think it's I don't know. I just
different things, but the same thing.
I think that
different words.
Yeah. I think that I love your position on things. I think it's great. And the more of these positions, especially things that I don't agree with, right? Stuff that I love reading. Like, so many people just put themselves in this bubble, and I only want to hear opinions that I agree with. Fuck that. That just makes you stupid. Becoming an idiot is what you are.
And I'm very much a root cause and history person. And David Grieber did a lot of this stuff, where he went, well, why do we believe what we believe about money? Why does money exist? He's an anthropologist, and he did a whole, it's fascinating stuff. And again, it's like, you know, that American default or male default or all those things. Again, it's just like, hey, you know, let's look at it like, well, how come this other thing, you know, how did that happen? How did we get here to a point? Can we rethink money? Is cryptocurrency an opportunity to rethink all of these things? You get what I'm saying? Is it an opportunity to rethink money? And I think it is.
I still think it is, but I don't know. I feel I'm a bit, I don't know. When I hear your story, your take, and you're far more educated in this kind of stuff. I'm the idiot, and you're the expert.
I know.
But that's true. We are. I think we're
just having a conversation. I get shitty when people tell me what politics is.
No, of course. No, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
that's all. The
whole premise of us talking is that you're an expert and I'm a dumbass trying to figure out how the fuck it all works. I don't have any idea. But it did for a little while excite me that it was something that was decentralized, that was something that was to allow people to get in there and do stuff without having to kowtow to the fucking overlords that control everything and say, no, you know, won't be doing that anymore. But it upsets me that there is this creep that these fucking
but it happened
dickheads are coming in to try and get a hold of crypto and make it theirs. Hopefully we are able to.
But that's the fight,
right?
But that's the fight we had with the first internet, where we saw the possibilities for sharing and information and free speech and, you know, the exchange of ideas. And that went well, didn't it? It ended up centralized into 4 major corporations headquartered in the United States, dictating what we say and don't say, regardless of the country. And then, you know, you ended up with people being radicalized and everyone suddenly interested in fucking the American president for some reason. You see how it's weird when you look at it from that point of view, right? You go, okay, absolutely. I want an Australian piece of content, please.
Exactly. So, all right, now we're totally 100% on exactly the same page and we're in the right spot.
Yeah.
So where to from here? What can we do as the little guys? What should we looking at? Should we just be observing what's going on with crypto, or should we throw in a little bit of money to some money that you wouldn't miss? And Phil, you can get.
I think throw it in to see how you can learn. Right, buy the dips. Do all the things that every other. Also, okay, all of the YouTube videos, about 95% of them are just paid hype influencer marketing campaigns. Don't trust them. They're not authentic, right? Okay. I'm saying they're paid. If they look like they're paid, they're paid. Okay. If they're shilling one coin, they're paid. Now, but just, look into it. Look into if there's a coin you like, you don't have to like it for the reasons others like it. The reasons why people liked Doge, okay? The reason that people bought into Doge was an organic thing. Don't let me, piss on your bonfire in the sense that I go, well, it's not. It was a campaign. It was a marketing campaign. And it's obviously a pump and dump by, with whatever the fuck's going on with the world economy right now. Assholes are clenched big time. Like, people are very tense. Everyone's feeling it, right? Everyone. It's like a room with Eric Weinstein in it. okay, in Clubhouse. It is that tense, okay?
Yeah.
Shit's about to go down. We don't know what, but we know it's coming, okay? And just, I think just pay attention, but don't, like people are funny about money. They get emotional. Really observe how your relationship with money and how you're feeling throughout this process, and maybe work on that. Because I think that if there is a global crash, if you can work on your own emotional shit around money, you have some, okay, you may be able to benefit from a crash. You may be able to buy the dips, right? You may be able to do those things. Versus if you freak out, and I'm saying work on yourself, your relationship with money. And second of all, just pay attention to some of the not the hype stuff. Like Elon Musk, whatever he's going to do, Elon's going to Elon. But the other stuff like Kronos and the moves, like Andrew Yang and his, like he owns Bots Inc., who also are building that Doge pack with Kronos. Yeah. It looks like there's moves there. Look at the moves, okay? Look at the moves that are being made and pay attention to that, which is that political threat that happened to the internet when they tried to control all of that and make the AOL portal and the Yahoo portal, and they turned all of it into a commercial thing rather than a sort of, the internet was decentralized. It's not new. It used to be decentralized, right? And then it changed again, right? It's sort of a form of decentralization.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But then it got centralized again, and that's probably what's going to happen, where Ethereum going gangbusters is not a coincidence, because that's the most centralized crypto that there is. Okay, it's just and also don't
running the world. Do you think of Yang? I think he's awesome. I would he would have been my man if I was an American, I reckon, in that last election.
Yeah, I'm a Sanders person.
All over the Yang gang. You like Bernie? Okay. I liked him the first time around. The second time, I think he lost a bit of, I don't know. I think he'd count out to the wokes far too much.
Well, you have to win. They're a voting bloc. But that's politics. It's unfortunately at that point you have to have, they're a percentage. You can win and lose on fractions of a percent of voting bloc. You can't alienate an entire base of the Democratic Party. And also he was a victim of a disinformation campaign. So
which is why
from Hillary's camp. But
this is why so many people voted for Trump, because he he had just shunned that bullshit block, which every Democrat needed. So, they should have pushed him out, fucked him off. Anyway, long and complicated story. So how are we going to round this one out?
Yeah, so I think
how do we
hold if you can. Hold. So it's been a massacre. It's been read, and I think that one of those things is to also just detach from it. Look at your wallet once every few days. Don't freak out. Don't sit there watching the candles and shit, because this is one of those times where you can, turn it off. I've been really busy this week, so thankfully I haven't really looked. But, and I also don't have much. I've cashed out most of it, like when we were moving. So it's only a few grand. But, it's just it's not like I'm making a fortune. But at the same time, it'll put in a little bit. You can learn more from the dips like this when there's a massacre and everything is bad. Everything's bleeding, okay? Learn to deal with that and cope with that, and I think you'll be gangbusters and ready, right? But also being prepared for when the big numbers is a different learning exercise, right? So Magic's brother said politics is fun, and I would disagree. Politics should be boring. Politics should be based in theory. It shouldn't be a sport. And I say that as someone who loves politics.
Yeah.
Politics is about the most serious thing that you could imagine, which is how we live together, and decisions are very critical, and it shouldn't be something that people play with lightly, and that's something that, I feel. I don't feel it. I feel that this is lives at stake. This is people's livelihoods, and people treating like the president's tweets like it's anything but fucking disgusting. That a president that again, how he got here is a symptom, but his conduct that has impact on people's lives, and he's also managed. All of them, but this performative bullshit which demonizes a whole group of people and makes them othered, and all of that sort of stuff. Trump has taken down a whole bunch of hardworking people who backed him with him, and that's not fair. So he needs to reflect, and he needs to reflect on the impact he has on ordinary people being securitized by their own government. Anyway, so again, there's a whole bunch to unpack, but I'm saying we should never think politics is a sport or fun. It should be something that is taken with gravity and responsibility, and as a political leader, humility. And that's the thing that shits me. Anyway, so if people were more humble, it would be fine.
Hold on to it.
But with crypto, yes, go. Okay. All right. So don't sell the dips.
Buy the dips, but
see you next week. And I'm sorry for drifting off, but it is political, so it's
totally fine. I like it, and I'm sorry if you thought that I was attacking you, because I wasn't, because I think it's awesome. I love you.
I'm performing.
Please keep being you.
Yeah.
All right.
We're good.
Excellent.
Okay, we're gonna go.
All right.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Hang on.